We're Renee
and Courtney, your online sisters, and we're on a mission to help women across the world become the best version of themselves through the power of sisterhood.
That's why we've written To My Sisters, a guide to building lifelong friendship.
From working out how to achieve your dreams to setting boundaries and managing expectations, this essential handbook will show you how to fully embrace the power of friendship and community.
Packed with practical advice and personal stories from our decade-long friendship, we'll give you all the tools and advice you need to find, make, and keep lifelong friendship.
To My Sisters is available now online and at all good bookshops.
If I was to take your hand and pull you up, you'll kick me off my pedestal.
Patriarchy leaking into the friendship space, right? This whole prioritization of men.
Convincing a woman that women have something to offer. Is it giving self-hatred?
It's giving self-hatred. It's giving internalized misogyny.
And it's fine to not click with every woman, because I think that's another issue.
Male friendships can exist without disparaging female friendships.
Hello and welcome to the To My Sisters podcast. I'm Courtney.
And I'm Renee, and we are your online sisters and hosts of the To My Sisters podcast.
We are all about promoting the wellness, growth and development of a community of sisters across the world.
And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about women are too much drama, pettiness, competition, and male friends only.
Let's talk about it.
I'm very excited for this one because that's a question that we often get all the time, insofar as like, how are we able to remain friends for such a long period of time? But also, I'm sure you've heard the charge that women are just bad vibes, and I'm tired of having females around me that are not supporting me and are actually in active, direct competition with me. So I'm real excited to get into this episode. But before we do that, we do have some housekeeping announcements.
Okay.
You know, we like to make sure that our house is swept, clean. Make sure that ready for guests to come and be held in a hospitable manner. But no, before we do get into that, of course, we are still celebrating very much so the fact that we are authors. Yes, sisters. The To My Sisters, a guide to building lifelong friendships is available right now. Go. Please continue to support us. We have been so overwhelmed at the outpouring of love and support that we've received so far. Like, honestly, me and Courtney are still looking at this book on our bookshelves like, wow, we wrote that.
And she's so beautiful.
She's a very pretty
and
book.
Full of so much wisdom. So honestly, so many gems have been dropped. And so many of you are receiving it well as well. We received some 5-star reviews.
Just a little. That's even a great charge. This is a great reminder that if you have got your order of the book and you've read it, you've listened to it, whatever, please leave us a review.
Yes,
we would love to hear your thoughts and how you've been finding the book. Even if you're halfway through, please tag us. What have you been learning so far? Have you been reading it with a friend? What has what have you found interesting? What has resonated with you? We would love to know. So please tag us at To My Sisterhood, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, all of the feels. We'd love to see it. And please continue to support. Buy one for a sister, buy for a friend. You know what I'm saying? And we really hope that you enjoy the book. It is a labor of love. So please continue to support the sisterhood. And another housekeeping announcement, a reminder, sisters, get those applications in if you want to shake ass on a yacht.
Oh, wow.
We'll be doing other things. We'll be... Cody's like,
wow.
Girl, you know. Amongst other things, we'll also be doing very intimate, relational exercises of building female friendships. But sisters, if you were unfortunate enough to miss our Tanzania trip last year, and I do say unfortunate because it was a heck of a time, the kind of thing that you tell your grandkids about,
100%, a movie.
Shout out to the Zanzi baddies who made it a real movie. Yes. We are partnering with Sorted Chalet to bring you even more experiences for the sisters.
Yes.
And we are going to New Orleans. We are going to Bali.
August.
We are going to Ghana.
December.
And we are going to South Africa.
February 2024.
So sisters, please, the link will be in the description box below and in the show notes. So please, with haste, I urge you, go ahead and get those applications in.
Yes.
I think that's it for the housekeeping.
I believe so too.
The house is swept. We are ready to have our guests for today, which is you, my lovely listeners.
Welcome.
And in true TMS fashion, we will be starting with a ding
dilemma.
Let's get into it. So, hey sisters.
Hey beloved.
How are you?
I'm good, you know.
That's okay. Do you know what I mean? And I saw that. I said, oh, that's so sweet.
On training.
Do you know what I mean?
God bless you, dear.
I was I was going to rush into my question, but I just need to appreciate y'all first. I am thankful for you both.
Oh, you too.
I have a dilemma that I feel a few people might call a pseudo dilemma, but it's bugging me. I have been dating a guy for 4 months.
Okay,
He's
nice.
great.
Nice.
Our beliefs align. We are
Fantastic.
incredibly attracted to each other. And he's just a really good guy. But I'm scared he can't say he loves me. Context. I have always been a words person.
Right.
I tell my parents, my siblings, and my friends that I love them almost every day. Man, I'm a writer, so words have so much value to me.
Did you say I'm a writer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He is the opposite. For him, love is expressed through actions.
Right.
During a conversation we had at the start of our relationship, he said he's only told one other person apart from his parents that he loved them.
Oh.
I don't want to be a nag and keep saying that I don't want to be a pushover and not assert how I want to be loved. That being said, he shows me love in his own love language, but am I selfish if I just want him to speak mine? I'm asking this because this is someone I want to end up with. When the butterflies disappear, I can imagine I'd feel love-starved. Love, a confused, love-struck sister.
This is a very good dilemma. Right? I think it's important to, like you said, when it comes to love language, we receive love one way, we show love maybe in a different way. And I think it's important to remind yourself of the fact that he may not say it often, but I think you are completely valid in because you receive love through words. I think you're completely valid in wanting him to vocalize his feelings. So I do think it's worth having a conversation. I'm sure you already have, in order for you to find out these things about how many times he said I love you and how he actually shows love before. But it may be worth revisiting a conversation if it is something that is still bugging you, and just say, you know what, like, I get it, you are showing me you love me through your actions, but I need to hear it. Right. And I think a compromise is you don't need to hear it all the time. You know, it's not every time you're coming off the phone, hey babe, I love you, like it's okay. But actually just saying, this is actually something that's important to me and I do want to hear you say it. And it could be a manifestation of the fact that he's not ready to say it. And I think also giving him time and giving him the opportunity to at least say that, as hurtful as it may seem. I do think this is the sort of conversation where you cannot force the outcome. So you have to be very much open and go into the conversation knowing that you want the relationship to actually survive. And so just being open and receptive and supportive of whatever is said, but also hoping that that is reciprocated through him also listening to your desire of wanting to hear I love you verbally, right? But once he does that, if he does that, hopefully he does, this isn't going to change his behavior towards you all the time, right? In terms of, he's probably still going to show you his love through his actions versus, you know, constantly reaffirming it through words. And so also you need to know the behavior of the person who you are with and also know that this is what you're signing yourself up for. And so really kind of sit down with yourself and be like, you know what, I need to also do some internal processing of the fact that this man does actually love me. He's just not going to say it often. So, you know, as long as his actions, and I think it's good that he will still show you that he loves you through his actions, as long as his actions towards you have not changed, hearing it from time to time may be something that you can actually live with, as long as his actions are actually falling in line with something he has previously said, which is that he does love you when he finally says it. So really pay attention to his actions as well, and kind of ask him what his actions mean. And I do sympathize as somebody who, whilst I am a speaker, when it comes to talking about my emotions, I don't really, it's too much. Unless you're my therapist, I'm like, I don't know how to make this thing clear. I'm very much an actions person as well. And so I think sometimes it can be frustrating because you feel misunderstood or you feel as though the people in your life who need you to vocalize it may be misinterpreting or not giving you the props that you are due. So I do also think, as somebody who is kind of more so in his position, sometimes it's important to give him the recognition of the fact that your actions do actually show me that you love me. And giving him that recognition will also help him to feel more appreciated and probably less less like he's doing something to hurt you, because he's not intentionally trying to withhold something from you. It's literally like learning another language, right? If you love the person you're talking to, but you can't speak their language, you may start to feel bad that they feel frustrated that you're not communicating with them in the way that they instinctively know how to receive, but you are still saying all the right things. It's just in a different language. And so their reception of it may feel like, oh, they're not understanding me and they seem so agitated and they're frustrated. But it's like, no, I'm saying the thing you want me to. It's just in a language you don't necessarily recognize or understand. And so I do think it's important to also let him know, actually, I do hear and understand what you're saying through your actions, which is that you love me. Don't jump to that conclusion though, because he also needs to say it with his mouth. But once he said it, just remind yourself that he's just speaking a different language to me, but he is still saying the right thing. Yeah. How about you?
That was beautiful, Courtney.
Thank
my
you.
gosh.
Because this has happened to me quite a few times where like people, not men, but people have been like, so are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, like all of my actions are showing I'm fine. I'm cool with you. Like my sister used to order, like, are you okay? I'm like, girl, I just made you food. What the hell?
Yeah. No, I absolutely completely agree with everything that you said. And it's funny because I feel like I resonate more with her because I'm also a writer. So I'm very much, it's easy for us, especially if that's the language that you speak of love, to be like, oh, I'm not feeling love because I'm not receiving it in the way that I often give it out. So I love what you were saying about understanding and really picking up the signs and the cues that this person loves you, but they're just expressing it in a different way. And I think definitely going in with that openness and that honesty, but also seeking to understand how you can show him love in the way that he wants to receive it, I think will kind of soften the feedback a little bit. So it's less so about what he's doing wrong and more so about how can you work together to make this relationship work for both of you. Even having the conversation and saying like, hey babes, like, let's talk about like how, you know, you receive love, and being open to receive from him as well. Like, how can I show you that I love you, as opposed to saying that I love you? Because even thinking about feedback from some of my friends or loved ones, it's yeah, you've said you love me, but do you show me it? And understanding that as much as they need to speak your language, you need to speak theirs as well. So going in with the, oh, I understand you're not trying to intentionally hurt me. In fact, you actually do love me. And assume the best, and really go in with okay, what can I also do to ensure that my actions are demonstrating to you that, you know, I love you. Do you know what I mean? So making it a reciprocated effort will really soften the blow, but also means that it feels less of an attack and more so this is something we're working on together, right? It's learning each other's language, and even making it fun if you can. I think it's quite a fun thing to challenge yourself to love somebody and express the love in a way that they'll be able to receive it. And I think trying to have that mutual challenge and that mutual conversation will be really, really helpful. And I think also, as you're saying, appreciating the efforts that he's already made. The fact that he's only said I love you to one other person apart from his parents, baby girl. Damn.
Damn. And it's only been 4 months. That might be your 1 year anniversary.
Don't kill me. You know when you're waiting for someone to say something, like when a baby is first speaking.
I like chicken. I think you're gonna say something else.
You'll be waiting for them. I like nuggets.
Every day dying inside.
Oh man, that's so funny. But yeah.
Can you imagine? I love the Yoko Ono.
You have to throw the whole man away.
Nah, like you have to have an outburst.
You have to, you know, when you go to a scream room, you just go there. But
relationships will be maddening, but can be maddening sometimes. But you know what? If this, sorry, you were the one who was speaking. No, you're sorry, I was going to say, if you know you love this man and this man has not done you wrong and all of his actions are showing you he loves you, especially, I would say this just because he hasn't said I love you. If he's telling the truth, he hasn't said I love you to many people. So I don't want to be riding on the whole, oh, but why can't he just say it? He might not be used to saying it.
He might, oh boy.
He might have a tough relationship.
It might make him feel uncomfortable. Or he finds it such a special thing to say that he's like, it's not something that I want to say all the time. You get what I mean? So finding that balance, but also expressing to him and saying like, look, like, I love the way that you love me, but also I would love it if you would do more of this, because it makes me, this is the effect that it has on me. So if you could do this particular action, and rather than saying, oh, you don't love me, it's could you express it in this way, because I really receive it well.
Yeah.
Is also a really good thing to do. But sis, it looks like this man loves you. It looks like, you know, things are going well.
As long as that's what you see.
This is the person that you want to be with. I think it's worth having these conversations. And it's funny because it's often when you get to the 4, the 5, the 6 months that these kind of things start being made apparent.
This is true.
And it's normal. That's another thing I want to assure you of. Working out the, you know, kinks and all that kind of stuff is part and parcel of a long-term relationship. So don't be alarmed that this is something that, it's not a pseudo dilemma. I don't like the way that you phrased it. It's not a pseudo dilemma. It's a real dilemma, but it's a dilemma that can be overcome.
Yes.
So
now
sending
talk to us maybe in 9 months if this is still a red flag. Okay. If the actions don't start lining up, we need a follow-up, baby.
Baby, we need a follow-up. But sis, sending you lots of love, really praying into your relationship as well. We hope that you have a positive outcome to that relationship and that you guys stand the test of time and that you both also feel mutually loved and respected.
Forever, baby.
But moving on into the meat and bones.
Let's talk about it.
Of the conversation. I'm really excited for this conversation because it's something we actually talk about in our book.
Yeah.
Comparison, all that kind of stuff, competition, all that, the pick-me's, you know what I'm saying? And it's something that recurringly comes up when we talk about sisterhood and female friendships and women. Yes. This whole idea of competition. And I don't know if you've seen on like social media or if you've come across the kind of babes that are kind of like, I don't have any female friends because...
Oh, they stay in my YouTube comments.
I love your YouTube comment. By the way, guys, Courtney Daniela Boateng is a YouTuber, if you don't know. No.
The government.
She is a YouTuber, CDB the original. So please check out her personal channel. We are on our way to 100k subscribers. So if you guys could just do me a good favor. I'm not even do me a good favor. I want to get her the 100k balloons. You know what I'm saying? Do something nice and sense. You know what I'm saying? So please tell a sister to go and support. But you actually recently did a YouTube video about where you addressed talks about feminine energy. You actually got quite a few comments and a bit of backlash. So I thought it would actually be good to start there and talk about your experience engaging with women who don't see the value in female friendship.
It's usually just because they've been hurt before.
Yeah.
And I don't want to come on this, you know, patronistic tip of they're just hurt, you know, better, you go and heal.
I mean, some of them are.
I'm not going to lie to you, but I think there's always a story behind it and there's always something that got them to that point, which is usually heartbreak. And as somebody who's felt heartbreak in different instances, even some heartbreak from friendships that have ended very badly, I really do sympathize with the fact that sometimes if in your past or in the past of someone who you have loved, a woman who they called friend or you called friend has done you wrong, it can genuinely shatter all of the expectations, the hopes and the dreams you had around sisterhood and friendship. And so sometimes I think they are talking from that experience of, you know, the women in my life backstabbed me, they stole my man, they stole my money, they bullied me. Some people haven't experienced healthy sisterhood, and so they also can't, you know, maybe they went to an all-girl school and they were the one who was picked on, and it's like women are actually dangerous, you know, and that's their framing of women because that's all that they've known. So I think it's also it's usually stemming from a place of experience and pain. My frustration with it though is you're an adult now, so
I love your face because you're just like, I'm done with you
guys.
No,
for real. At some point you have to really sit down and think, am I going to let this dictate the rest of my life?
Absolutely.
And then you can't throw a whole gender in the bin because some people did you wrong and from that gender.
Your whole gender.
There we go. And that's my final point. There seems to be all this gas and all this I hate women. Do you hate yourself?
Oh.
You don't, do you? You don't. You've bought yourself a device so you can talk crap in my YouTube comments, so you don't hate yourself, right? So I think to myself, you don't hate yourself.
Yeah.
this internalized misogyny that people can have sometimes that manifests in them refusing to give women second chances, right, is something that actually needs to be confronted. Because I find that a lot of women have all this energy to develop themselves. And this is why I was talking about feminine, because I was talking about feminine energy in the video. This was the angle that I took it on. And this is why people are coming at me, because a lot of women are working on themselves for men. They constantly revisit and re-strategize their approach to their femininity when it seems like men are not responding well, right? Good. But they would not do the same in terms of refining their character or reevaluating their expectations or reevaluating their approach and trying to take a different one if a woman responded negatively to them, right? Oftentimes this is why I don't like women. You're about to live a very sad and lonely life if this is your approach to people, number one. Good. And number two, oftentimes we have all of this grace for men because we think that romantic relationships are worth that grace. And I'm not saying that they're not, but female platonic relationships also are worth that same level of grace, that same level of investment, that same level of refinement, that same level of forgiveness, and that same dedication to constantly trying to find the right thing. Not necessarily with the same people, but at least trying to find something which is valuable, right? You may not give that same man a chance. I mean, a lot of people do, but you may not be giving that same man a chance, but you're going to give another man a chance at some point. You're going to heal over your heartbreak, right? The same way with female friendships. No one's telling you to become friends with the women that hurt you. They're telling you to be friends with women, right? And I find it so crazy how much outrage there is when you tell women to find friends. And I think it's sometimes stemming, and this is what we're talking about at our book launch event with Tolly, right? Sometimes I think it stems from an arrogance, which is I have ascended to this certain level of consciousness, self-awareness, and wisdom in life, and wanting to just move forward and have the life that I want, that I actually don't need other women in my life because all women are just this except for me.
Courtney is coming for some people's edges to this evening.
But I do think it's a bit of an arrogance, and arrogance is something we constantly warn the sisters in the sisterhood about, and we're constantly warned about, you know, staying in a place of humility that says, baby, you are not the only one. You are not the only one. You may be
it, but there's multiple its.
There's multiple its, right? There are multiple women who are, look at how vast the sisterhood is, right? And this is why I love TMS, and I really feel like, even if I wasn't, you know, a co-founder, co-host and co-author, I would really rock with this community, is because it shows you that there are women who are as invested in not only their personal development, but also community, which means even if you see a woman who's reading our book or who is, you know, listening to our podcast or subscribe to us on YouTube, you know that there is common ground in the sense that she also wants to glow and grow. Absolutely. She's also working on herself, but also she prioritizes and she recognizes the beauty of, at the very least, having women's voices in her life. And that's a really beautiful thing, but it genuinely makes me shiver at night the more I realize how many women do not think that is valuable.
Absolutely. I think it's so shocking. You hit the nail on. In fact, it was giving Jack in the Box. You were hitting all these nails, all these points. I said, good Lord, there's nothing go there, gonna be nothing left. It's a minefield. Oh, double homicide. Shots for you. Shots.
Give me pesos. Extra no cry. You can see my spare time is TikTok.
Letting it off. No, I absolutely love that. And definitely just thinking about the way that this whole narrative of untrustworthiness has really penetrated female communities, right? And I think it's interesting because just thinking about the podcast episode that we did with Kelechi, it's out now, so you should go check it out.
Shout out to Kelechi Okafor.
Honestly, phenomenal woman, absolutely phenomenal woman. But you know, we're gonna work to get her on side. So you know what I'm saying, Kelechi, if you're listening to this, you already know, girl. But no, we were having a conversation about like the proliferation of that narrative in different communities, right? Even thinking about our mothers and our aunties talking about, you know, be careful of your auntie. Either she a witch, she might be a witch. Don't eat her at her house. You know, she's doing X with her husband. Right. Don't tell her, you know, good news. Really keep in. Don't try to have any kind of conversations outside of the family. This narrative of untrustworthiness and the gossip surrounding female friendships, it's no wonder that when we have now grown up and we've become older women, that we are now suspicious of women. There's a suspicion of women coming in, inherited from past generations, conversations, but also proliferates now with things like social media, where we're constantly seeing enmity between friends, where we're constantly seeing backbiting, we're constantly seeing pick me's, and even in our own childhoods, right, we're thinking about the mean girls on the playground at school, we're thinking about the bullies, the people that have hurt us in the past. So it's no wonder that this thing is not new. It's no wonder that this is something that really proliferates. And I love the fact that you actually started with saying that a lot of these people are hurt, because hurt people go on to hurt people. Broken people go on to break people. I think it's important to recognize that, because we might end up re-perpetuating those same spiels against those people instead of welcoming them with open arms and saying, sis, you are like, you gotta stop. Honestly, this attitude that you have, it's not helpful. And this, exactly, it's not helpful. And just thinking about, like, you know, it's something that we often talk about on this podcast, right? About how female friendships and just having women in our corner and in our circle. You should buy the book. I mean, it's something that we talk about throughout the book, not just examples of our friendship, but the examples of other women in our community that have been pillars when it comes to overcoming trauma, self-development, accessing the resources that we need, becoming the women of today, becoming it. It's so unfortunate that we have this narrative of arrogance and ascension, when that ascension is often not possible without the input of those magnificent women. Like, in order to really ascend to the heights, the real top of that mountain, we need those people that are pulling us up, those people that are sending the ladder back down, those people that are holding us side by side when we're climbing up the mountain and there's unstable rocks. And I think it's such a shame, and actually a really great place for us to move on into the fact that there are a lot of women who have this rhetoric of, I'd rather be friends with men than friends with women. So I'm sure you I know I've definitely had my fair share of women that come on or come up to me and are kind of like, oh, I have more male friends than I have female friends, or I invest more in my male friendships than I do my female friendships. I would love to hear your perspective on how people get to that particular point, and is there fairness? Is there truth in what they say about male friendships sometimes offering something more valuable than female friendships?
I think that's the issue, like seeing male friendships as quote unquote more valuable. Right. I think the question then becomes, what do you perceive as value? Right. What is the value that they offer you that a woman couldn't offer you? Right. I think where people find themselves with the whole, like, I just click better with men. I just it could be that, one, you haven't been surrounding yourself with women who are similar to you. And I do understand that point, in the sense that we click with people who are similar to us. So if you grow up in an environment where everyone around you is so different, like the women around you are so different, or the women in your family are so different, you can start to feel quite isolated. Or if you grow up with people telling you, oh, you're a tomboy, or like, you're just a boy's girl, like, do you get what I mean? You're one of the guys. You can just start to think, maybe that's it. Maybe I don't actually have a place in women's lives because I'm not a girly girl. Or maybe I'm just not a girl's girl. You know, and it's like, actually, yes, you are. You just might not have found the girls you actually click with. And it's fine to not click with every woman, because I think that's another issue. People have they have run-ins with women who they wouldn't like as people, and then they think this is how women are. And then again, it comes back to that inflated sense of ego that is, wow, women, there's no other woman that thinks like me. Baby girl, you are not unique. You just need to leave your city. You need to go to uni, go and meet people who are not from your area. Join TMS. Find people who love your hobbies, love your niche, love the content that you love. And you'll actually find that there are more women who are like you than not. Absolutely. And so I think that people who, it's not necessarily, I'm not criticizing people who do have majority male friends. I'm criticizing the people who take pride in that fact. Not that it isn't something that, I don't feel any which way about it. If the majority of your friends are men, then whatever. But I think it's important to then not have that be your life experience, and then your mindset be, because women and female friendships are not worth investing in, because often it is a sign of internalized misogyny. And the thing about patriarchy is it has constantly pitted women against each other for scarce resources, oftentimes being men and male attention. So when you have a mindset, a scarcity mindset that says that I cannot befriend this woman because, like you were just describing, these women are meant to help me up, but they don't help me up because they're also competing with me. And so I think there's also something to be said about the women who do uphold that stereotype and who are holding women down because they feel like if I was to take your hand and pull you up, you'll kick me off my pedestal. Do you get what I mean? And it's like, ooh, if I don't know if I can trust you and you don't know if you can trust me, there will never be sisterhood. There will never be friendship. And so I do think it's worth questioning, why do you think having men in your life is more valuable to you, right? Is it because they offer you more opportunities, or you think they're going to be less competitive? Because let me tell you something, baby, no man is perfect. And no woman is perfect. But I find that, oh no, I just, it's like all that female friendships have been defined by is the cattiness, is the competition.
Right.
And people don't do enough to talk about the warmth and the beauty and and we're a testament to that, right? The collaboration, the caring and the nurture that comes from sisterhood and female friendships. But because I don't know, guys have the banter, or they've got the coolness, or their understanding. Do you get what I mean? It's like, no, just say you haven't met good female friends. You just haven't met good female friends. But don't say it doesn't exist. Don't say that women are incapable of achieving it. And also assess for yourself, how much effort have you actually put into making it work? Because I find that a lot of people they stick to what they know, right? But they haven't actually put the effort that goes into building intimate relationships with other women, because building intimate relationships actually require effort, right? But if you don't see women as valuable and friendship with them as valuable, you're not going to put in that effort because you don't see it as an investment. You just think it's a waste of your time.
Right. Absolutely. No, definitely agree with that. And I think as nice as it is to have male friendships, no one is saying that you shouldn't have friends that are men. Okay. Men, I think oftentimes the charge is that, men can be more blunt or bantersome, or they offer something. Blunt women. They offer something slightly different to women, which perhaps in your experience, and at least in my experience, you might have a different interaction with your male friends, right? I think of some of my male friends, they're like brothers to me and I love them dearly. And, they're definitely funny, they're definitely warm and all these kind of things. But equally, my female friends are too. So I think I love the point that you were saying about what effort have you put into cultivating a wide array of friendships, which is inclusive of men and women. How much have you actively tried to seek out friends that may differ from your experiences, that may be negative, especially around women and womanhood? And I think even just this whole prioritization of male friendships, I think it's such a shame, because I feel like it's patriarchy leaking into the friendship space, right? This whole prioritization of men in friendships even, and male attention in friendships even. And I think it's such a shame, because women have so much to offer in the space of friendship, right? When we think about loneliness and isolation and friendships in general, when we look at the statistics, it's actually men that are likely to be a little bit more lonely than women. And it's also some research that we included in our book, but women, when they're facing isolation or times of like high stress, they often find it easier to actually connect with other people. So I think it's so unfortunate that in the prioritization of quote unquote male friends and male friendship, we just completely leave our female friendships to the wayside until it's convenient, or when we want to disparage women. I think that's a really big issue, is that male friendships can exist without disparaging female friendships. And I think we see that often in other areas, right? When we think about like differences in like romantic relationships and all that kind of stuff, female friendships are often the thing that are disparaged the most. And it's a real shame and very disheartening, considering, again, there's so much to be offered by women in friendship, sisterhood.
It's crazy that you have to convince women to recognize that. Convincing a woman that women have something to offer. Is it giving self-hatred?
It's giving self-hatred. It's giving internalized misogyny. And it's giving the lack of, I think it's actually quite, what's the word? Destitute. In that, like, do you really think that there wouldn't be any other women that are like you?
Illusions of grandeur.
Do you know what I mean? It's definitely giving delusions of grandeur. Do you really think that there is no one out there? It is not possible. And I think it's a very hopeless and very sad place to be if
it's arrogance. And the thing about arrogance is it's hard to have friends, because friendship requires humility.
Right.
But also, and it takes humility to try, right? And to search for good friends. But I find that with the people who are mainly on the front of, women are not, they're competing for men. It's not even usually the women who have loads of male friends.
And therein lies
it's
the crux.
Usually the women who, I need to get a man. And I want a man. And I think having a man is more important than having a friend.
Therein lies the crux of the issue. I'm so happy that you even touched on that, because I was putting that away like a Dragon Ball. You know, like in Dragon Ball Z when you got a little something, or like in Pokemon when you got the Pokeball and you're like, I'm just waiting.
I'm gonna hold on to that one.
I'm gonna hold on to that one until we're in the dire situation. Not only do we disparage female friendships in light of male friendships, but disparaging female friendships in light of romantic pursuits and relationships. Talk to me about this, Miss Courtney. Like, the ladies, the pick-me's who are out here talking down on women in the hope of securing them.
I hope you talk to your daughter in that way. I really do. I hope you talk to your sisters in that way. I hope you talk to your mum in that way. Because you got all this smoke for women who you cannot touch and you cannot see, but they're human beings. Number one. Number two, it's so sad to think that you have become so egotistical and also narrow in your thinking that you would think that knocking down a woman would put you up in the league tables for male attention.
Talk about it.
You look silly.
Maybe you don't talk about it. Don't worry. Don't worry.
You look silly. And don't get me wrong, I think pick-me's, or the title, gets thrown around quite loosely.
Yeah.
But when I do see like perfect depictions of pick-meism, oh my days, are you not embarrassed?
They're not.
It's actually quite embarrassing how you're tap dancing for men who ain't gonna give you the reward that you think. Literally, you're doing it. It doesn't work out quite well for women like that, I find. But I do think to myself, pick-me's and sometimes the people that we put the titles on, it's usually just because it's because there's a difference in opinion. So I'm not coming against, and Adela Afadi did a really good video where she kind of addressed it from this angle, which is sometimes women aren't being pick-me's, they just disagree with you, right? And I do think that that's actually a very, very valid point. But where I see pick-meism often is when people weaponize their femininity against women, right? So I do XYZ. I do these very traditional feminine things for men or for myself. And the reason why I'm saying these things so loudly or doing these things so publicly is so that a man can look at me, and just like Boaz saw Ruth in the field, he'll be like, I want her. Do you get what I mean? And it's like,
mysterious girl.
Do you get what I mean? And then you're with your there's this TikTok I saw where it's like when you're out with your friend who has a crush on a guy that you're also out with, and she's there, suddenly her voice goes like 3 times higher in pitch and she acts bare dainty and feminine. And then when she's with you, it's all I'm loose, I'm
You're
myself.
A soccer boy.
Literally. You are the most aggressive of them, but you
boy.
act. And it's this thing of women feeling as though they actually cannot be themselves around men. And in order to not be themselves, they also have to separate themselves from the average woman, even if the average woman is actually their friend.
Right.
So we talk about the pick-me's that criticize women that they don't know, but there are pick-me's who actually act stupid in the presence of women that they say they love and they care about. And I think that's another internalized deception and internalized thought process, which says that I need to make myself stand out. I need to make myself stand out. And it's like, because of this scarcity mentality that says that men are constantly on the prowl, looking for, as if a man can't just love you for your personality. And this is why I will constantly preach against the overuse of feminine energy as a term and the content that emerges from those echo chambers, because it dehumanizes women to simply becoming masks and caricatures instead of allowing them to actually have personalities, uniqueness, actually allowing them to get in touch with who they are as a person and not just a puppet. And some of y'all want to be puppets so bad. Y'all want to be puppets so bad.
I don't know if you've ever seen, you know that meme of the guy
in the wind. You guys want to be puppets so bad. Like, and I think that's when so many women then get upset when another woman who they considered to be unworthy, average,
below,
then end up getting what it is they've always desired.
You know what? That's even a conversation for a whole nother. Oh, that's loading, baby. That one is loading. The performance of femininity, not
without
giving
reward.
You.
Baby, we gonna have a field day.
That gonna send somebody to the grave.
Ciao.
We gonna have to start overturning plots of land, start burying sisters. Oh no.
People literally, some of you women will, meritocracy is an illusion, even in relationships, even when it comes to romance.
CDB, first of her name, ladies and gentlemen. You've heard it here first. Nah, man, you gave me
Even
excited.
when it comes to romance. Why?
Good.
Because unless you want to be with a man who actually objectifies you,
exactly,
you're going to have to fall in love or hope that a man falls in love with you for who you truly are as a human being.
And here's the thing about performing femininity and performance culture in general. There will be a time where you don't have capacity to perform anymore. And this is the issue when it comes to pick-meism, is that this is a performance that you cannot keep up for the long term.
It's exhausting.
Whether or not you get your reward or not, baby, you got to be tired.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to sit down. And I love this whole idea of puppeteering, because that is what women have been turned into. We've been turned into puppets. Yeah. We've been turned into caricatures. Yeah. We have been turned into performances.
Literally.
And it's so unfortunate that many women are subscribing to this notion of needing to perform. I know that, you know, in dating and like when you are trying to woo someone, there is an element of putting your best foot forward.
Of course.
But I think that there is a disproportionate amount of pressure on women already to perform, but not only in the initial stages, but to sustain that performance throughout the lifetime and life cycle of a relationship. So there is no respite, there is no, you know, safe oasis, there's no safe haven if you don't have friends
At all.
And this is like, for me, the catch-22, right? You're pushing away all of your friends for this assumed prize, only to catch the prize and realize that you have no safe haven. It's like being drawn into the middle of the ocean to catch the biggest fish, only to find out that your boat is abandoned. Yeah. And you can no longer see the shore.
There we go.
And the shore was your friendships. The shore was the women around you. Let's not be like our foremothers, our foresisters, foregrandmothers, whatnot, that were suspicious of women. Let us actually actively try to build community and ecosystem with which we can then build those intimate relationships. Because I think that's also another issue in female friendships, right? Is that we can go from 0 to 100 real quick. And there's steps. Much like in dating, there are steps before you decide to commit your life to someone. Much like in dating, there's that initial period of trying to put your best foot forward. We also need to not just assume too much from women, because I think sometimes we enter female friendships and think, oh, because we're on the same page or because we're both glowing and growing, we have to be intimate. You straight could be a witch
at home. I don't know you.
That's one of my favorite quotations of Courtney's. You could be a witch.
I don't know you.
You could be a witch. Anyone could be a witch.
Anybody.
And it just feels like we exist on two spectrums of extremes, right? It's either we are like enemies, right? We are at enmity with each other. I don't like you. I don't F with women. Or we have to be besties. She has to be on the same lane as me. There's no middle ground. There's no progression of friendship. We need to bring back the progression of female friendships. There's so much pressure on women to perform that we've actually brought that performance into our relationships with them as friends, to the point that we don't allow that building up of friendships anymore. It's the go to the power brunches and all of a sudden we're besties. It's the go to the networking events and all of a sudden we're wearing matching sets of suits and we're going places. It's the going to the speed dating and all of a sudden we're co-founding businesses. Me and Courtney were friends for no, but we actually, like, before me and Courtney collaborated, we had a decade's worth of friendship. The reason why some of you guys are not working with your friends and it is absolutely failing is because your friendship had no firm foundation,
no track record,
no receipts. You guys haven't even bought a suite together. And you think that you can run a business together.
Haven't even invested.
You haven't bought candy. You haven't bought Freddos. You didn't buy Freddos pre-inflation. Okay, you need history. You need relationship. You need to build, intentionally build. And that's why I'm so happy that we actually have a book called A Guide to Building Lifelong Friendships.
Come on.
It's not a guide to lifelong friendships. It's a guide to building. Because with friends, you must build. Build with your friends. You can't just appear and decide that you want to be friends.
No.
It doesn't work like that.
That thing will crumble. It will crumble.
Crumble like apple crumble.
It's quite scary. I do think it is quite scary because so many people want to write off female friendship. But like you said, that safe haven, like...
Honestly.
And the thing about sisterhood and
we delve into it quite a few times. Maybe we'll explore it more on the podcast, but we definitely did it in the book, which is this idea that there's horizontal, like peer to peer, but then there's also the vertical. We talk about our relationship with our mothers and stuff. If you get so deceived into thinking female relationships are not worth investment, only God knows what you're going to do to your daughter.
Bruh.
If you can't have sisterhood laterally and you also can't have it vertically, what are you actually gonna do? Like, what are you? No. But honestly, what are you actually gonna do when you end up being the one at the top of the vertical line? Right? This is where so many of us have experienced the actual toxicity of mother-daughter relationships. If you have a toxic mother, I can guarantee you at the same time she was being toxic to you, she was probably being toxic to her friends. Or she was being toxic to her sisters. Or she was being toxic to her mum. She was being toxic to another woman, and she couldn't display to you, her daughter, the sisterhood, the solidarity and the safety which you actually needed, right? And it's not to say that motherhood is the same thing as sisterhood, but that relationship between a mother and a daughter is quite sisterly, especially as you grow older. And I find that we're not blaming men for the perpetuation of the sad things that happen due to patriarchy. Actually, it's oftentimes women who have internalized this misogyny who become the gatekeepers and the prison guards of these shackles that are on our body, Lord. Right? And so how many of us have been hurt by an auntie's comments, a mother's comments, an older sister's comments, an older cousin's comments, who is policing us to stay in our reins, to stay in our place, to stay satisfying the male gaze, or to not step out of line of tradition and culture or even religion. How many of us have been burnt by women who didn't approach us with sensitivity, even though we called them family, even though we called them the women who were to take care of us? So if you do not master sisterhood or even see female relationships as valuable, this isn't just going to damage your friendship, it's going to damage your children. It's going to damage people's actual relationships with you, whether it be professional, platonic, or relational, or by family.
Absolutely.
And some of y'all gonna be bad mothers. I'm just going to be very honest with you. I don't know how a generation who is so resistant to, let me not generalize. I don't know how some people who are so resistant to have a female presence in their life are going to give birth to female children.
It's the arrogance.
Who will live with you and latch onto your breast.
It's the arrogance. But it's even those are the people that end up becoming the mothers that we speak of, right?
Exactly.
That's literally the genesis. When we say generational trauma, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about when it starts with you, or it starts with a person, and it continues to leak until we become the people that we claim to despise. The narcissistic mother, if you don't have sisterhood, you could easily become the narcissistic mother. Girl. The jealousy that we speak of, where we see mothers and aunties and older women be jealous of young women. This is where it starts. If we don't nip it in the bud now, we are growing a garden full of weeds. A garden of forest.
They'll choke.
They gonna choke them all the life out of them. But honestly, I love that you really linked sisterhood to the different types of hoods that we are going to have to cultivate, right? If you don't cultivate your forest of sisterhoods, those other hoods go look like, you know, when you like drive past or walk past those houses and they have not kept that house.
Looking like a graveyard.
Looking like something died in there. And because you allowed something to die in the sisterhood avenue, things will die in the motherhood avenue, in whatever and other
even
hoods.
In wifehood. If you don't know how to be an intimate friend, how are you going to be a wife?
And this is what, you know what? And this is the issue that I have with femininity content as well, is not only are you called to be a wife to your husband, you're called to be a friend, a companion. This is something we spoke about in one of our recent episodes where we talked about divorce and marriage. You are called to be a companion to your husband, not just a wife. You cannot perform friendship. It's an actual function. It's not a performance.
And also it requires practice.
Exactly. Like, you know them, this is why some of these relationships be hollow as heck, because once the romance falls, once the performance falls,
or once they let you down, or once you let them down, what do you have left?
What is
pick me, Isha? What do you have left? Talk to us.
Ain't much to pick. The only thing you be picking is them edges out because you stressed.
And your bag to leave.
For me, it's the image of that garden must go back. Just overflowing with all of your items back to where? Your mother's house. The one that you don't like.
Or back to your friends.
Right.
And then you return then, this is what we were saying in the Say Your Mind pod, right? You return back to your friends and you're trying to withdraw from an account which is in a deficit because you've been pouring all of your water over there.
Absolutely.
These relationships have been dying. And now your friends have become occupied with their life, or they've built their own independent, intimate relationships. And now you have nothing to return to for solace.
Absolutely.
And for rest and for comfort, because you haven't given to this account you're trying to withdraw from. And now you're in overdraft.
Do you ever been to Barclays and try to, when you don't have a arranged overdraft, and try to withdraw money?
Somebody's calling the police. Number one. Number two, that's a hefty fee.
That's a bull. That's
a hefty fee.
The fee.
So I think it's important to just remind ourselves that we cannot bank on relationships which we are not depositing into.
Absolutely.
We actually need to give our friends in all seasons of our life, motherhood, wifehood. It may look different, right? Even when your career is booming and, you know, time is becoming, and this is something I've had to learn the hard way, you know, time is becoming scarce. You're always tired, blah, blah, blah. It's still important to actually invest in your relationships and give people the time and give people at least the communication that says, I still love you. I still appreciate you. You still mean a lot to me.
Absolutely.
I may not be able to give to this relationship the same way, but I'm still very much making deposits just in the way that I can right now. It's like what we were saying about the love languages, right? The way that I can show you love right now may look different because of the other demands that have now come into my life, but I have not forgotten you, nor have I valued you because you are still important to me. And so making sure that you have friends around you really does come down to how well have you sustained those friendships in and out of seasons when they were your most, you know, your highest priority, and when they became maybe something that you thought about left often because you were thinking about something else. What have you been putting into that bank account? Some of y'all are in minus and we want you to go and get that account balance back up, right? Some of you don't even have friendsits that you can deposit into. We want you to go and find it.
Not DKM.
No, 100%.
Don't kill me.
Don't kill me.
She
Because
said open up that account.
no,
Some of y'all,
somebody somewhere, because if you have one account, look what happened with SVB, right? Where it's like, what if that's your only account now that account is closed? What happens when you put everything into your marriage and then you get divorced? You put everything into your romantic relationship and then your relationship is over, or your partner is sick, or your kids go to uni, all these things which you have put all your eggs in this one basket. What happens when the eggs crack or the eggs finish?
and how many of us have actually seen, you know, older family members go through exactly that cycle?
Especially in old age, right?
Especially women.
Empty nest, a divorce. And we've had conversations with older women, like when we went to did we say this on the pod? We spoke at Women of the World Festival and they invited us to a reception at Buckingham Palace. If you ever want to find updates of like what we're up to during the week, you can follow us on social media at To My Sisterhood, because we post about all the stuff we're doing.
We do work, you know.
Yeah, we actually do stuff. So yeah, I think when I was there, I spoke to an MP who was like, I'm so glad you were writing this book. You've written this book on sisterhood because, you know, I met so many older women who were like, oh yeah, because, you know, when I divorced my husband, or, you know, when my kids went off to uni, it was my friends that were there for me. Or when I went through a really hard time, it was my friends when I was sick. And it's just like my friends. And it's not because their husbands are useless, because I find that sometimes the rebuttal is, you need a better partner. No, your partner's at full capacity for their role.
You need to be a better partner.
You need to be and it's like, nah, I've actually gotten what I need. Maybe the love, and this is literally in the intro of the book, maybe the love you are craving is actually in sisterhood.
Absolutely.
But you keep putting all of your expectations and your emotional needs on this one person or this one form of relationship, and now it's coming up short because they've reached capacity of what they can give you. That is your husband. Your husband may not be your best friend all wrapped into one, or he may be one of your best friends, but there's a way that you appreciate the uniqueness of someone else and their presence in your life. And multiple people can exist in your life at one time. But let's stop acting like we only have, you know, we all have attention deficit and we can't focus on more than one thing at one time. Baby girl, be for real.
Be effing for real.
Be freaking for real.
Freaking for real. Like,
so I think it's important to have those investments into different people, and like, just stop putting all this pressure into thinking my romantic relationship is going to satisfy every part of my womanhood.
Child, it makes me think of the physics law that says energy cannot be created or destroyed, it can only be transferred. And if you have all of this energy to give, this finite amount of energy, why would you concentrate it into one thing that could, and
it
by
will
concentrate,
explode.
exactly, literally by concentrating that amount of energy into a vessel that cannot hold that amount of energy will cause an explosion. So sis, please, we are begging you,
Diversify.
and also diversify the types of sisters that you have as well. Don't just think lateral. I love the fact you're talking about horizontal and speaking with older women. I love talking with older women.
Same.
Some of my really close friends are older women,
Same.
and I really enjoy hearing their insights, their wisdom, especially if they are a little bit ahead of me or a lot ahead of me. I'm really getting that range of experience is really, really helpful and handy.
Yeah.
I have friends that are much older that are childless and haven't gotten married, and they're having the time of their life. I have friends who are, settled down. Their kids have gone off away to university, but they still have their friends. Literally, I have a friend who is much older. They have like 3 or 4 kids. Was talking about like the possibility of moving away and moving countries, and how her other friends who are all age mates with her have been supporting her. I heard the story of a lady who had a book club amongst her friends, and basically what they would do is one person would pick a book that represented the season of their life, and then they would send it to the other friends as a representation of what they were going through. And I was like, that is such a beautiful thing to do.
Wow, yeah.
Things like that can really enrich our experiences and really enrich what life has to offer. So we are literally begging you. Obviously, you're plugged into To My Sisters, but one of the things that we always implore you to do at the end of any interaction with us,
Do the real life work. Baby.
do the real life work.
Go off and make friends.
Make friends. There are sisters in this community, but there are sisters. Look, we are definitely not arrogant to think that you can't find sisters outside of To My Sisters.
Facts.
Maybe we might be the seminal place that you find
100%.
sisters, but there are so many other avenues, so many other places, so many interactions that you can have with women that cause that serendipity, that cause that need to birth some kind of progressive friendship and commit to doing the work over time to develop those friendships. Do away with that myth. That myth needs to die that adult friendships are impossible. They're harder, they're more challenging, but they are not impossible. Okay? So sisters, pick me's and not pick me's. The whole community of women, we implore you, make friends.
Please, with each
Go
other.
and break bread.
Yes.
Okay? Leave the man them alone. Okay?
No, you could still pursue that,
To decide.
but the two are not mutually exclusive.
There we
You
go.
could do them both at the exact same time.
Exactly. And you have been given the grace to have multiple
There we
people
go.
in your life. So sisters, thank you for tuning into another episode of To My Sisters. We still going strong. We still walking. We still kicking it. You know what I'm saying? All that. I know the American sisters are so tired. So I'm like,
Yeah, I know.
we need
Sorry,
to channel.
we stay butchering that whole
Guys,
American
we
accent
watch
thing. We
far
know it's
too much American TV. Yeah, but to be fair, they be doing the British accent quite a bit.
They
out there.
do. They do.
They do.
Not quite well.
No, not quite. And they probably be listening to us like you guys. But to be fair, I feel
think
like we
we're
do it way
closer
better.
because there's more American media.
Fair.
But anyway, we need to wrap up the book.
Yeah, and to be fair, just wait till we get to South Africa. Then that's when you guys.
Oh
gonna hate
my
us.
days.
That's when they go hate.
Oh, for real. You might actually throw us in the bin at that
They
one.
might say we're not part of this sisterhood no more because you guys think. Anyways, we'll get there when we get there. We ask for your forgiveness,
Please,
in
in
advance,
advance.
because we're gonna have the time of our life. We're not having- Any-
Shout out to our Anna Piano
we love
Day.
it. You can tell that we're looking forward to Bali, Ghana, South Africa. We're ready. We're ready. Anyway, sisters, please stay a part of this conversation. We'd love to hear what you have to say on our social medias. Come follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at To My Sisterhood. You will literally find us everywhere. Come and be a part of the sisterhood, of course. And don't forget to follow us on our individual platforms. The lovely, the brilliant, the intellectual, the smart, the articulate, the phenomenal at CD Boateng to the left of me. And of course, come and say hi to me over at my personal channels at Renee Kapuku.
We love to see it, and make sure that you are signed up to the To My Sisters mailing list. We will send you weekly glow and grow tips. We will not spam you. We'll just send you love on a consistent basis. All right, sisters, we hope that you have an absolutely amazing week. We love and adore you. Go and prosper, but importantly, keep glowing and growing.
We're Renee
and Courtney, your online sisters, and we're on a mission to help women across the world become the best version of themselves through the power of sisterhood.
That's why we've written To My Sisters, a guide to building lifelong friendship.
From working out how to achieve your dreams to setting boundaries and managing expectations, this essential handbook will show you how to fully embrace the power of friendship and community.
Packed with practical advice and personal stories from our decade-long friendship, we'll give you all the tools and advice you need to find, make, and keep lifelong friendship.
To My Sisters is available now online and at all good bookshops.